It's Tuesday, y'all. You know what that means. Adventures in Audioland. Welcome back to Point Noir, home of the Point Noir podcast. I'm your host, Jerry III, aka Kimono Jack, and I'm so glad you're here with us for another awesome session of the Point Noir podcast. This is our session 22. We're just keeping it rolling week after week, bringing this awesome content, awesome guests. And listen, if you've been rocking with us so far, please do us a small favor. Leave us a 5-star review on iTunes to show others that you love it, that you support the show. We'd be eternally grateful. So without further delay, let's get into introducing this week's special guest. Joining us today at The Point as our special guest is Kenyon Walker. You can find him on Instagram at punintended93, and that'll be spelled out in the show details and description. But Kenyon is an adventurer and an outdoor lover that always involves nature and the elements in all of his trips, of which he has many. Definitely one of these brothers who is bitten by the travel bug. He says he has a few more countries and destinations he wants to hit before this year itself runs out. I think you guys will really enjoy his positive and kind of uplifting perspective on travel, the things that it's added to his life, and the way that he'd like to continue experiencing the world. So grab a refreshing beverage. As always, sit back in a comfy chair and or couch and enjoy today's session. Yo, what's going on, Kenyon? Thanks for joining us today at the Point Noir podcast. How are you feeling today, bro?
I'm feeling super, man. I'm blessed, highly favored. Life is good. No complaints. Glad to be here, man. Glad to be here. Appreciate it.
Man, glad to get you on. We're dealing with some technical difficulties, but that's a part of the beast, bro. That's why we play the game, man.
Absolutely, man. It's all about resiliency, man. You just don't give up. You don't quit, man. I mean, there's a lot of lessons in life with these technical difficulties that we had. You just don't give up. You just keep on trying, man. Keep on trying.
No, ain't no quit in them. Ain't no quit in them. So, we linked up on Instagram. You had some cool stuff in your profile, some cool pictures, yoga, a lot of kind of like holistic quotes and stuff about, self-actualization. I was like, yo, I need to give this guy a call, see what he's up to. And a few weeks later, now we're on the call. And dude, I'm glad you're here. So let's start it off the way we always do. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're coming from, and how you got into adventuring.
Okay. Thanks again. Originally from Richmond, Virginia. Been living in DC for the past too many long years. I won't gonna say. I've been here too long, and I'm actually ready to go. And hopefully, I'll be going soon. Actually. So let's keep that energy and those vibes out there, the going away vibes, life's all about transition and change. But I enjoy traveling. It's a hobby. It's a thing for me. It's something I look forward to doing. In a hobby in the sense that I'm always looking for a trip. I'm always looking for an adventure. I'm always looking for a new experience. And I've been doing it for a while. I can't live without it. I have to take several trips a year. And it is what it is. And, I love people like me who love, to adventure, as well, for sure.
Being like pure travelers like you who have to take trips, every so often, have to do this, that, and the other. It's an amazing fascination I think you guys have. And so what sort of trips are you taking? Are we doing luxury cruises? Are we doing the best of the best? Are we staying in hostels? Where's kind of like your travel zone? What kind of experiences do you look for?
Where's my travel zone? Definitely not on the luxury end because I'm not a luxury type of dude. I like to consider myself a very earthy type of guy. A little vanilla, a little granola crunchy, I ain't combing my hair, you know what I mean? I got a little beard thing going on, I got the natural soaps and oils on deck, so I don't need, the luxury cruises. And actually someone reached out to me last week on a group text and, hey, we're going on a cruise. I was like, I almost threw up. I'm like, why would I want to be on a cruise? Like, no. And I don't do cruises unless I absolutely have to, i.e. family. But no, so I'm not doing luxury thing. I'm not doing hostels. I'm not above it, so I'm just sort of kind of ideally I look for a local hotel. I'm not staying at any chain hotels like through Marriott or the Hyatt Regency, but I do look for local hotels, to the geographic region that I'm going. So I guess someplace in the middle, a local hotel that's in a neighborhood or part of town where I can get the local feel and flavor, where I can walk to a shop and get coffee and a baguette or, some local food, but not, in the heart of downtown, if you will, not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just that I like to get as close to the people as I can. Cause I like to curate an authentic experience, if you will. So maybe that's my travel zone, maybe, to sort of kind of mix and mingle and immerse myself with the locals, as closely as I possibly can, within reason, of course, so I can feel like what it's like to live here. And that's actually an exercise I go through my mind, like, what would it be like to live here? And I ask myself, could I live here, as a person who is exploring becoming an expat within the next probably year or two, I'm actually
Mm-hmm.
to leave. So can I live here is big. So I need to be in very local places where I stay. So the luxury thing I know is not happening, for sure.
It sounds like the everyman approach where it's like, I want to see what a day in the life is. And by not doing the luxury things or, being in the downtown suites, but also not being in the hostels, which have a certain characteristic and sort of crowd that they attract, you're really getting to see what like an average John Doe would go through in these different experiences. Like what access does the average person have? That's pretty clever.
Yeah, from going to the market to pick up fresh fruit, to grabbing a cup of coffee or even just grab something to eat, a quick bite, that it's not at a restaurant with white tablecloths. It's and again, because, I do have interests and desires and plans, on becoming an expat, it's very important that I do, have that experience of, can I live here? Because in my mind, I am thinking, well, can I live here? Can I live here? And even in, and even in transitioning, to becoming an expat, I just have to go to a whole lot of places and to see if, any of these locations work. And me being an expat doesn't mean I'm going to be stuck in one place. Last year I was in Costa Rica for my birthday and I ran across a sister on a tour, who was from Jersey. She rented out her condo. She was a CPA. And she was telling me that she was living in a different country every month, and I thought that was super dope. I'm like, wow, why can't I do that?
Right.
Why can't I live in a different country every month? And that was her intention. And she was getting all her work. She picked up assignments, online. She was still working, but she was in a space in her life where she could live in a different country every month. And I'm like, yo, why do you have to settle on one place? Why?
Right, to have a really curated nomad type lifestyle, and
Yeah.
it's becoming more popular. At least the phrase, being the laptop lifestyle, digital nomad. I
Right.
think more people are finding opportunities, especially online, to realize these sort of possibilities that our parents, that's not happening. It wasn't happening in the same way.
Right, right. And another friend of mine, he just finished up remote year. I don't know if you're familiar with remote year. Um,
Yes, yes, I am.
yeah, so he just finished that up. I thought it was a little bit expensive. You pay about 30 grand. Granted, everything is done for you. But again, I'm the type of person that I like to curate my own experiences. And I like the idea that they have the whole cohort thing, this group of people that you're traveling with. But for 30 grand, I can do a 30 grand, man. Please, bro, 30 grand. I don't know.
But there's the sort of vibe that, well, not vibe, there's just the approach that works with your philosophy. Guys like you or myself aren't really interested in group trips, but because we see them as expensive sometimes. But I think the difference is someone like you and myself, we're really okay with being by ourselves. you
Yeah,
know um,
absolutely.
you
Yeah.
know to have the ability to have 5 or 10 people that are on a similar experience as you. Some people want that. They really desire that. But, we were talking earlier, you just got off a 7-day fast where you were pretty much on your own in solitude, away from vices, just kind of getting your mind right. And yo, bro, everybody, listen, some people would pay you $30,000 to never go through that experience.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And I guess that you know, you know, yeah, I don't need to see people. I don't have to have people around. I did a lot of yoga when I was on my, cleanse, and lots of yoga. And one of the studios I, go to, they always remark, hey, listen, we never see you, we never see you. And I'm like, I kind of don't want to be seen. I don't have to be seen. I'm good with me. I just don't have
Right.
to be. And again, I'm not a, curmudgeon. I'm not a hermit, or anything like that. But I don't feel that I have to be seen, and I don't feel like I have to travel in groups and packs of people. We all have to be in the same hotel, and we have to be in each other. Like, I'm kind of private, man. I'm really kind of private, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate the solitude. And I do share time and space with people, but it's not at the top of my list. I'm not an extroverted person where I have to be around people all the time. Me being alone, I'm perfectly fine. And if I can weave in a person here or there and share a moment in time, sure, that's great. But it doesn't have to be, I don't have to be around people all the time. I just don't. So remote year wouldn't work for me because you have this cohort, everyone staying in the same living quarters, what have you. They'll get on my nerves, and I wouldn't be. I would feel trapped, honestly.
Yeah.
But what this sister was doing, she was living in a different country every month, and it was working out for her. And at the time, her next, we were out in Costa Rica, and she said she was gonna go to Ghana for a month, and after there, she's gonna go to South Africa. So I'm like, yo, do it. Hashtag goals. I'm right behind you.
Yeah, 100%. And like you were mentioning, between, private individual travel and group travel, there's variety for everybody. It's just getting out in the game, and figuring out what works for you, 100%.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And I will do I don't mind. I'm not against doing a group trip, but it's not the go-to. If it's with purpose and it's with meaningful, and if there was a Point Noir type thing going on, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm there for it. But I'm not I know, and I'm sure you know people as well who say that oh, I want to go here, I want to go there, but won't nobody go with me? And I'm like, well, why are you waiting for people to go?
Right, right.
Who does that? Like, I mean, well, people do, but I couldn't stop my life for something it is that I wanted to do because I'm waiting for other people to join along. That's not going to work, at all, for sure.
Right. And I definitely get that vibe. And we'll dive into some more of the other aspects that I think you could speak to, like yoga and how you engage with the environment. But what got you traveling? Like what was that first experience where you're like, okay, I'm hooked and now this has to be a part of my life?
Um, I think it honestly it sort of crept up on me. There's always been a desire. I mean, I have a pretty adventurous spirit.
Hmm.
I'm a, and some people call me different. I guess I'm a weirdo. I own it. I'm a weirdo. And I just never really felt the need to be like everyone else or please everyone else. But I've always been sort of curious about the world. I've always been curious about maps. I love looking at maps. And I took my first trip to the Bahamas in 2000. And initially, I tried to do a study abroad program that didn't work out because the school I was going to, they didn't know what the hell that meant at the time, because that's not something that Black people were doing,
Wow.
and so they're, I mean, again, they just couldn't understand why, like, but you go to school here, why do you want to leave, and so you can imagine me trying to talk to counselors and financial aid people trying to explain to them that, hey, I want to go to Paris for a semester so I can study French, and it's like, you want to do what? Like, no, you go to school here. Like, you don't go to school over there. It was a very, time. And at the time, I just didn't have, what, at 19, I didn't have the, I didn't have the tools in my toolbox to make it happen,
Right.
and I'm, so, and I may have went back a couple times, but anyway, so it's something that has always been there. I've always been a little weird. And after that trip, then, I didn't take my next trip until about 4 years later, but to sort of to be out and experience and explore just has always been there, man. It really has. I mean, I even do that here locally in DC. I want to go to, the bar that no one's gone to, go to the spot, that has like really dope music and cool people, that are on the fringe, or on the periphery of, what everybody else is doing, but they're not quite doing it. So it's just me. That's just sort of who I am, man.
Yeah, that makes sense, man. And definitely shout out to you for not losing sight of that part of you because it took some time. You said it was always there. It just took you time to get to the opportunity and have the right tools to make it happen. And I mean, you're doing it in a big way. You average something like 4 or 5 countries a year.
Yeah, yeah. I think last year I did 6 or so.
Wow.
Yeah, and this year I'm supposed to be get up to 8 before the close of the year's out. So I'm trying
Hmm.
to throw it. But you made me think about something. At the point where I realized where I wanted to do it more was when after grad school I did an internship in Nigeria, in Abuja, Nigeria, for 3 or 4 months or so, something like that, that time frame. And it was at that moment I didn't realize that I guess I'd never lived outside of the U.S. of course, but as my time was winding down to go home, it occurred to me that I didn't want to go home because I was having such an amazing time. I felt that my quality of life had improved, significantly, and I was just having an amazing experience. And it wasn't until it was time to go where I realized I really wanted to stay.
Yeah.
And I think it was at that moment where I realized that I didn't have to live in the US. And more importantly, I wanted more travel. Being gone away for so long, so I think that was a point where I was like, you know what? And even leaving was a very bittersweet. I made connections with people and I had things here, I had duties and responsibilities here that I had to take care of, but I think it was being gone for so long made me realize, you know what? You don't have to live here, you don't have to live in the US. You can have a good life outside the US. And I'm not sure at that time I had ever even dreamed about, possibly living. So I think that really that summer of '04 really sparked it off, to like doing some other stuff because I hung out in Amsterdam. I went to Cote d'Ivoire. Earlier that year I was in Trinidad and Tobago for 2 weeks, and I was in Costa Rica, for about 8 days. So that 2004 was really, I guess, the beginning of it all, the genesis, of saying, you know what, boy, get your travel on, man, explore, have some fun.
Yeah, man, that's really deep because that's a realization that a lot of people might even say or hear and just not realize it. You don't have to live in the United States. There's a lot going on in the US, but there's also the other 95% of the world.
Yeah, yeah, and you have people who are living beautifully, without living in the U.S. And I think that the U.S. is marketed as the place to be, and you're not living unless you're in the U.S. And until you really get out there, you're like, yo, like, it's actually other good places to live other than the U.S. and to go to, So we'll see. We'll see. I'll keep you updated, on what's going on with that, and as I continue to go down this journey, every day is a new day.
Yeah, man, would love to keep tabs on that, especially making the transition to becoming an expat. I mean, there's a lot that I think people fear in giving up or loss or people's expectations. And man, weirdo or not, because I'm definitely in that category. It's listen, you do what works for you, and when you commit to that, man, how can you go wrong?
How can you go wrong, man? And guess what? You can always come back home. So you're someplace and it's not working out. Carry your ass home. Like, you know what I mean? You're not, part of it, man, is knowing that whatever situations you have, that you're never stuck. And I'm never stuck, no matter what it is, And so I don't have a stuck mentality, whether it's a relationship or whether it's a job or friendship. I'm never stuck. Kenyon always has choices. And, if it ain't working, switch it up. Hey, that's all you got to do, you know?
Right, right, dude. I love it. I love the vibe. So I'm curious. I didn't know about Nigeria. What was that like? That had to be one of your first experiences overseas. How did you feel going to Nigeria? Was it your first African country overall?
It was my first African country. I worked for a satellite communications firm shortly after graduation, And it was a global firm. It was called World Space, and they were doing, satellite radio at the time, and it was like a really big deal because they were bringing, satellite communications, to very rural parts, of the developing world, was what's called, or what's called the developing world. So I connected with the guy and a bunch of people. And again, it was a global country. I think an Ethiopian guy owned it. And one of the managers there, we became very good friends. So he knew I was in grad school, and he said, he was a world traveler, for business. And he said, "Hey, listen, I have an opportunity. Why don't you come with me to Nigeria? You can work on this particular project." And at the time, it was a project it was a telecommunications project. And he said, "Do you want to go?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah, I'm finishing grad school. I'm hungry. I don't have any money, and to live in Nigeria, absolutely. Where do I sign up?" And so that's how I wound up being there.
Wow.
I had, naturally, there's some reservations of fear. You should have a healthy fear, but I wasn't afraid to make the commitment to go. Naturally, there are people who didn't really understand how or why, or I felt the need to do it. But I'm like, this is adventure. Like, how often do you get to live in Nigeria? Especially on somebody else's dime, and so I wound up there, and the experience was amazing. I'm still cool with the people there today, and some of the people are here, and I'm thinking about maybe going there and doing a Ghana, Nigeria trip in December next month. No, well, yeah, in December. It's not November yet, but it was great. I was well received. They embraced me, ate great food. Of course, I partied, and I just had it was one of my best travel experiences ever, and I could probably live in Nigeria today, and I didn't want to go, man. I didn't want to go. I did not want to go.
Wow, you didn't want to come back home to the States. I feel that. I feel that. What was I mean, was there anything that just struck you as being special because you were in an African country? Did you have some sort of expectation? I'm thinking, from what I understand, you're pretty well read. You understand a lot about the culture. Did you feel like you were home?
I did feel like I was home, which is one of the reasons why I did want to leave. I was embraced as a brother, and I didn't feel as if I was fetishized, because I was African American. I just feel like, like, hey, welcome, my brother, and it was just overall cool, down to earth people, It was it was not stressful, man. It just wasn't. It was a completely different energy over there. And, there's traffic, and, Abuja, is an urban space, but it was good living, man. It really was good living. Yeah, I would go tomorrow. I would go tomorrow, again, but I'm a little biased because I don't have to live here. So I probably would live almost anywhere that's not here. But I not anywhere, but but I'm just so open to the possibility of living in other
Right.
places that I don't have like a lot of hangups about where, as long as it's warm, I don't want to live where there's a traditional winter with snow and ice, and yeah, I need warm weather, man. Warm weather.
No, understandable. Understandable. So I wanna ask a question that's a little bit to the left of center, but let's talk about blackness, because you spent a lot of time in DC, which is a very large black hub
Mhm.
in terms of major cities in the States. But Nigeria, you're talking 95% black.
Blackety
Like,
black, man. Blackety black, bro.
how did that feel, bro? Because I remember my first time when I was just surrounded. I was in Botswana, my first trip in Africa,
Mhm.
and it was the first time I was surrounded by everybody that looked like me, to the point that I didn't stand out. Man, how was that sort of just? How did that hit you?
Um, it hit me in the sense that, you know, I felt like I belonged. I didn't feel like I did not belong. It was a very natural fit. And it was also empowering because everywhere you went, and I'm sure you experienced it in Botswana, it was Black people. There weren't any Caucasian people. Every person was Black. Everybody in charge was Black. So there wasn't a racial hierarchy, if you will. You see what I'm saying? It was just Black. Everywhere you go was Black. The directors, the people, and everybody in charge was Black. So it was, in my opinion, it was very empowering. Like, yo, we really running this shit. And it was the first place I had been, where everybody in power was Black. You know, um, it's different, because again, we'll travel, we'll go to a place for a couple of days or what have you. Then, we go back home. But in terms of racial diversity, that just wasn't there because everyone was Black. There was some cultural diversity with the different tribes and things like that, different languages. But at the end of the day, whether you were Igbo, or Yoruba or one of the minority tribes, you were still Black, and you were in charge. And what's interesting there that I learned that because you have such a cultural diversity with the different tribes, that there are actually quotas, to ensure that one tribe doesn't get more jobs or the other, let's say in a workplace, so to make sure that we don't hire all Yoruba people, if you have a Yoruba person that's a director, the deputy director had to be a non-Yoruba person. So it was a very sort of interesting take on, I guess maybe affirmative action, if you will, because I guess, you have someone in charge who's of one tribe, they can hire all their folks, and all the people in the cultural group. But no, it was very balanced, at least from outside. I'm sure there are many Nigerians who would disagree. But in my opinion, it was a way to sort of kind of keep balance and make sure that we don't have one particular ethnic group take over, the whole thing. But for me, it was empowering because all I saw was Blackness, Black excellence, if you will.
Yeah, man. And you hit upon one thing that I really resonated with from my experiences, and even now just hearing you saying it, was that self-esteem, that confidence to be like, oh, we're really out here. Oh, I can be a bank managing director, or I can be a marketing director in my early 30s. You know what I'm saying? Stuff you don't really see so much in the States just because it's a different history.
Yeah, and I think that everyone should experience that, because we have, living here, we have in our mind what a power dynamic is or what have you. And I think that everyone should, I think that most people have never, lived or operated in a space where everyone looks like them and, in control and power and all that stuff like that, yeah.
It opens your mind to what's possible for the people, to see a model, and also for yourself as an individual to see how you can maybe get involved or reach that level. I love it, and it's super empowering, just like you said. So let's real quick switch pages because I don't want to run out of time, but I know you have some other interesting ways that you travel, and I want to talk about the outdoors and nature. I want to talk about your connection with yoga and that practice, because these are other, this isn't going to be the French episode, but these are things that we don't really see a lot of brothers out here talking about or engaging in, being in the outdoors, taking hikes, doing yoga. Can you tell me how those things have impacted your travel experiences?
Yoga and stuff has impacted my life, man. I started off in yoga, because I'm pretty lazy, and I'm always looking for, like I told you earlier, I'm always looking for an adventure, a new experience, and things like that.
Right.
So I initially started yoga off as a way to sort of kind of get a different sort of workout in, I kind of feel like we're always in this battle, to keep the weight down and to make sure there's a certain sort of aesthetic about us. And I say, hey, let me just try yoga. Let me just try this type of workout. And so that's pretty much how it.
Wait, because because you feel you're lazy? Because I did yoga for 30 days straight this summer, and I'm a former D1 athlete. Like this shit was hard. 30 days of yoga did not feel. It was tough, bro.
Well, again, this is me going in not knowing how difficult yoga was. Yoga is very challenging.
Okay. The yoga gave you the business. Right. Okay, got you.
Yeah. So I went into yoga, as a way to sort of kind of switch your workout. How people, I don't know if you're familiar with ClassPass, how you get different passes, different gyms for a month or what have you. So I started off with yoga, as a way, to add something, to working out, weight control and things like that. But I wound up loving it. And I found that not just after practicing yoga, I discovered that I began to feel differently mentally, if you will. I began to think differently. And so I wanted to, I guess, know more and more about, like, what is this yoga thing? Like, wow, I feel great. There's mental clarity that's there, what have you. And so that's really how I got into yoga. And I wound up doing a teacher training. So I'm actually a certified yoga instructor. I graduated in May with a yoga teacher certification because it was so powerful, you know. So
Wow. Congrats,
yeah,
dude. Have you taken your practice with you through your travels? Have you engaged, like, you might be in Spain and say, "Oh, I want to drop in on a yoga class." Have you done yoga on your trips?
yeah, yeah. I was in Trinidad in May, and I actually took a yoga class, and that's because so to answer your questions, yes. The last trip I took, well, I just got back from Mexico. I didn't take a yoga class in Mexico, but I think I was looking for one low key. But I did, um, I, you know, I, so yes, absolutely. So when I'm travel, I love to look for a class that I could fit into because people
Hmm.
practice differently. And I love to feel the vibrant energy, of a different studio. And the class I took in Trinidad, it was one of the hardest classes because you held the poses for so long. And so yeah, so yoga is a part of travel. And I wouldn't even mind opening up a yoga studio someplace, honestly, abroad. I wouldn't mind
Yeah,
that.
man, it's a
I
huge.
wouldn't
It's great because of all these young black travelers and millennial travelers who are kind of hip. Yoga is kind of uh, popular right now. Who look for these
Yeah,
opportunities, and yeah, they'd love to have someone that speaks English. Sometimes,
yeah. There's a whole website called is Listserv. That's website Listserv, what have you. That's really dedicated, to getting yoga teachers jobs abroad. It's called Yoga Trade, and
Mm.
you get emails, a couple emails about the week about opportunities to teach yoga. In different countries, for free room and board, like with the small whatever. So so anyone out there who wants to teach yoga, go to Yoga Trade. There are a lot of opportunities out there, to teach yoga in Guatemala or, Ecuador or Portugal, or what have you. You know,
Yeah, it's called yogatrade.com.
yeah, Yoga Trade. Yeah, Yoga Trade for sure.
I'm writing that down right now because, sometimes I need things to do.
Yeah, 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 yeah. You get your yoga on, bro. You could teach a class,
Yeah, well, I'm thinking about getting my certification like you this year. It just depends on how the timing works out. But I mean, if you got the skill and the passion, like I think this is the second time that you've mentioned, I don't know if you're aware of it or not, finding ways to travel while being paid and not
right,
quitting your job and just
right.
um, you know, with your few months, your 4 months in Nigeria and this yoga trade option. I mean, the opportunities are out there. It's being able to be around people with information like you to share it. I mean, that's super valuable, bro.
Yeah, man. I tell people all the time that you really don't need, you can travel on other people's dime. You don't need, it's just, are you willing, to make the commitment, to doing so? But you don't need other people's money to travel. I mean, you don't need your money. You can use other people's money to travel for sure. I know a brother right now. I think he's just got to Cambodia. But he's a yoga teacher. He just got a Reiki certification, and I even think a Thai massage certification. And he bounces between Cambodia, Thailand, and Vietnam, and I say kudos to him because he's a young brother and he's out here doing his thing, and he doesn't feel, the need to be a part of the grind of New York or DC, or, whatever city it is. And he's just out there grinding abroad and he loves it. And I'm sure his quality of life is way better than mine, but yeah, you don't have to use your money, use other people's money. That's what I tell people all the time.
100%, man. That's a strategy I think more people can adopt. And as a person who quit jobs and just went overseas, I'm finding more intelligent ways to go about it now. That's for sure.
Shout out to you, man. You lead the way, man. Do a podcast on that, man, because there are a lot of people out there, who know that they could be doing better and or something more, but they just don't know how, and you just never know how you could inspire someone, to quit their job, and so yeah, you should definitely consider it as a podcast topic for sure.
It's on the banks. It's on the project list. But until then, I love bringing in these perspectives of similar minded bros who are out here doing it. And the other thing that I love about your energy is that is a lot of nature, a lot of just uh, human experience involved. Can you talk about how you incorporate nature into your trips, the sort of things you look for, the experiences that you try to cultivate when you travel around nature?
Yeah, always water for sure. Even though I don't know my sign. I don't think I'm a water sign. Not that it means anything, but I just love water. I'm drawn to it. I have to be around it. Even when I first moved into my home, one of the very first things that I did was I purchased a whole house water filtration system. Water is very important to me. Um, you know,
Ooh, like one of those reverse osmosis
yeah,
things?
but it's a huge system in my basement, so all the water in my house is filtered, so water plays a big role in my life, so when I'm traveling, there has to be some sort of experience with water, a water experience, so that's the first thing on my list is like, where is the water? How do I get to the water? What am I going to do when I get to the water? Am I going to swim in it? Am I going to kayak? Am I going to jet ski? Like, what's going to happen with me in this water experience? Am I going to get in a waterfall? What type of water? Is it a river? Is it a lake? Is it an ocean? Water is important, and it's interesting that you ask these questions because these are things that I just do, but I don't really think about it, but the way you pose the questions makes me think about it. It's a lot more
Yeah.
intentional than I know, because it's just sort of kind of natural. Like, hey, look for water. Like, where's water? So water is important, getting outdoors is important,
Right.
whether, it's hiking out, in the jungle or rainforest, or even doing some urban hiking, or it could be a park, but, being outside as much as possible, getting that vitamin D, we talked, smells, getting some smells in there.
Oh, real quick, can you tell them where vitamin D comes from? Because everybody might not know.
Oh, the sun, man. You got to get some sun. You got to get some sun, Um, back in the day, I used to tell people I took so many trips, because I had a vitamin D deficiency and I needed to go to beaches often. So I used to,
Right, right. It's a medical condition, is my doctor's
right,
note.
right. So let me go to this island real fast so I can lay on the beach and get a tan and get my vitamin D. Yeah, but being outside, I feel fulfilled and at home, when I'm outside, I love being outside. I love being outside. So, so water, being outside, whether it's a hike or even a bike ride. I'm big on biking tours.
Hmm. Okay.
So if a biking tour available, I want a biking tour because I love biking. I ride my bicycle to work most days. It's kind of cold now, but most days out, I like being on a bike. Outside, man, is the biggest thing. Being outside, I want to be outside. I don't want to be in. So that's why I don't put a whole lot of stock into staying in the 5-star hotel. One, because it's expensive, but I know I'm not going to spend a lot of time there.
Right.
Most of the time I'm going to be out, whether it's on a bicycle, or walking, or doing some sort of bus tour, but if I can get a bike tour, man,
Hmm.
or rent a bike, man, I'm winning, bro. I'm winning.
Right, it's on. That's smart, bro. So the bike tours make sense because a lot of cities, even if people aren't really out, uh, in rural areas, bike tours and there are attractions like that for tourists. But how do you find your nature experiences? Because the first thing I think about is like safety. Now, granted, you have more experience internationally than I do, but how do you kind of cultivate? What are the safe trails? What are the bodies of water? The hidden gems. Are you talking to locals? Are you using the internet? How are you organizing those things?
I use the internet, as a starting point, to get some ideas. And once upon a time, I was really big on um, booking stuff before I arrived. You
Hmm.
know, Now I'm a little bit more sophisticated, and my preference, honestly, is to find things when I get there because there are all sorts of hidden gems. So the benefit of staying someplace locally, a neighborhood sort of kind of Airbnb type spot or a local hotel, is that you get to see real everyday people when you're going to get your coffee or have your breakfast, and they can make recommendations, as to where to go. And a lot of these things aren't entirely, captured on TripAdvisor, but when you get there, talk to the locals about like, where is the local beach? And oftentimes what I've noticed is that people sometimes will try to sort of kind of steer you in the direction of the tourist traps because that's what they think that you want, because this is you're from America and you wouldn't dare want to go to this river or this beach or what have you. I'm like, no, 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 I want to go to the local beach. Where the beach do you go? It's like, you want to go here? And they'll tell me, so you have to really be clear that
Yeah.
you want an authentic, whatever experience, it is, because people will steer you to where all the tourists are going. And that's just not what I want, and I think that will be difficult for me to get if I'm, let's say I'm in Panama, I'm in Panama City. I'm in a downtown. I'm at, some big fancy hotel, in the financial district, trying to ask for a local beach, but if I'm staying in a little place that's, in the cut, in a neighborhood, I think I may get a better results that way. That's just me, but who knows? I could be wrong.
It seems like a pretty efficient tactic. Even in the States, if I'm in a city for the first time and I see maybe a waiter or just someone in the street that looks cool or friendly, it seems like the type of person I might want to hang out with. I'll say, hey, I'm looking for a bar. Where's the place that you go? I don't want to hear
Right.
about the top spots or whatever was reviewed or what was, the best of 2018. Like, where are you hanging out at? Because that's the vibe.
And even living in DC, which is a when I work downtown too, which is a tourist city, there are people who come to the district and they only stay downtown and their tourist experience is limited to downtown. So they never really get into any of the neighborhoods. DC has lots of neighborhoods and there are lots of cool places to hang out. But if you come to DC and you're staying downtown at whatever chain hotel and you're eating at all the restaurants or you're going to Au Bon Pain for lunch. And, it's like, to me, that's just not a real authentic experience. If you're not getting on the train and going to some of the neighborhoods, whether they be, Hispanic, or Black or what have you, you really haven't gone to DC. You've gone to DC and you stay downtown, but you didn't go to this neighborhood and have coffee or have a lunch or it's a party. It's like, it's, yeah, you gotta switch it up, man. At least for me anyway. I want an authentic experience as close as possible. But
100%, man. We're on the same page in that, and I will ask as many questions as necessary until I get the information.
yeah, for sure. Definitely for sure, man. Definitely. Because you want to say that, at least I do. I mean, some people, I have friends who are perfectly fine with going to resorts and staying in resorts. And if that's what's calling to you and if that's what you need and if that's your idea of relaxation, it's not for me to judge that. And, it's just not that's your thing, but that's just not the travel experience I want to curate for myself. And I try to stay away from those sorts of places because they're so manufactured and, it's all about you, let me struggle with the language a little bit.
Right. So that leads me to an interesting question. What's the best water experience you've had out of all your travels? Where was it? How did you find out about it? And what's the best local destination that you got from somebody, on your journey, meeting somebody in a coffee shop and say, hey, I'm looking for this, that, or the other. What are the two most surprising experiences you've had involving water and just asking somebody for advice?
Water, the best water experience. Let me see. The best water experience would be, I probably would say last year I was in Costa Rica. No, I was in Costa Rica for my birthday. And I went on I did a tour and there was we went to a waterfall and we were there all day. And actually we were in, when I go to Costa Rica, I oftentimes go to the Caribbean side because that's the side that's just for me. I love it. I have to go there. And so we basically went to this, a local guy took us, and actually I met him humbly because he was working at a place where I was having breakfast, and I overheard him talking about taking some people, and I was earjacking, and I said, hey, like, can I go? And he's like, yeah, sure, And so that's where I met the sister from Jersey, who was doing that, whatever. But we went to this waterfall and we pretty much hung out there all day. We jumped in, it was just relaxing, man. That was probably my best because it was off the beaten path. It wasn't rushed. There were no other tourists that were there. And it was a very local spot. And the only reason why we went there with a guy who worked at this restaurant, he worked, and he was taking them, and I didn't even know what his connection was to them. And I just asked to tag along, and that's what I like, sort of kind of tagging along. Hey, I don't know you, you don't know me. Like, what's up? But can I go? And it was perfectly fine. I gave him a tip or something, but that was the best because it was unexpected. There wasn't anyone else there. There weren't any, tourist fees to pay or anything like that because it was just a local waterfall. It was good. And so, what was your other question?
Well, actually, that might do both of them. That's a surprise experience. You're hustling
Yeah.
and getting yourself invited on a trip, and then having a water experience all in one. I mean, that's both of them. But I do have a question. Through all your trips and as frequently as you travel, and you seem to be someone who's looking. I mean, obviously for authentic experiences, but how do you capture those? Do you get souvenirs? Do you record pictures, video? How do you take these experiences with you since you have so many in the books right now?
I'm doing better about taking pictures, and actually, I'm on the market for a camera now. I want better photographs. So I record videos and things like that, but I don't really share them. So I have lots of videos of moments, that I've captured, lots of pictures of moments, but I'm not a big sharer, and that's just because I'm just not that guy. I'm not the guy on Instagram that's uploading, my entire life. I told you I'm semi-private, but I also think that I'm humble. I also think that there are much more interesting people and things than myself. So like, why does anyone care about Kenyon's pictures or his video, what have you? I just got back from Mexico I was in Tulum. I got about maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago, and I have all these videos of me, swimming in the cenotes and things like that. And I haven't even shared one of those, and I said I'm going to, but I figure like people have better things to look at than me, sort of kind of flapping around, in a cenote in the middle of Tulum. There are way better pictures and videos, So I guess part of it is that I capture it, photos and videos, but I don't do the best job of sharing them. And because I just think that when I look at Instagram and look at other people's pages, they're pretty lit. I'm like, my videos don't look this good, and I don't know, maybe I should be sharing them. I don't know, maybe but yeah.
I mean, I'm not mad at it. And I thought you also might be a collector, especially as much time as you spend out in outdoors. Are there things you try to pick up at local markets just to have a keepsake or a souvenir? Do you seek out things like that?
Haha, funny that you should say that. You asked the right questions, man. I collect a number of things. I do lots of herbs and spices because I do cook, so I always try to bring back some sort of local herb and or spice, something I can cook with to take my food to the next level. I collect refrigerator magnets, magnets. I'm in my kitchen now and I'm looking at all the different, and I like, different types of refrigerator magnets, whether it's a doll or, I just like different refrigerator magnets to sort of kind of remind me of the places. So yeah, I do collect those things. I just started getting into collecting crystals. In Mexico, I bought three different crystals, so I'm into crystals now. And so I'm looking forward. I have a trip coming up next month. And so hopefully I can pick up some nice crystals there. I'm adding crystals to the repertoire. I collect little small things here and there. If it speaks to me, if I feel like a connection to it, I'm going to definitely bring it back. But my go-tos are refrigerator magnets and some sort of kind of spice, and definitely liquor. I'll bring back. So even on my bar at home, I have like a lot of liquor. Much of it is from travels abroad. Stuff that I haven't even opened, honestly. And I should be drinking it, but I will one day.
I mean, usually mine never makes it on the plane because I drank it. But I feel you. I think that you mentioned a lot about solo travel. Solo travel is what I kind of do exclusively. I just like to have, artifacts. If a place was meaningful to me, and like you said, if an item resonates with me, I'll buy it. If it's a bottle, we'll buy it. There's just sometimes it's nice to have something tangible, even if it's not the videos and the photos, just something that you know that's in your house. You know, I'm looking around my house right now and I have artifacts and things everywhere just because that's now a part of me. You know, that's a part of my experience and my journey. And I feel like people like us like to have that represented in some form or fashion.
Yeah, and even what you mentioned, I usually get an ankle bracelet. I'm an anklet guy, so it's not uncommon for me to see an anklet around my ankle. Unfortunately, I'm really rough on them, and I don't know if that's because of yoga or what have you, but I usually break. So usually by the time there's a next trip, there's always me trying to get some sort of anklet, from wherever it is, which I think is pretty cool, because I think I pick out nice ones. But it's unfortunate that I break them. Yeah, so I guess I have a collection of stuff, if you will, from all over the world. And I'm looking, when I was in Trinidad in May, I brought back a Buddha that is absolutely stunning. And I just went into a shop on a humble to ask for something because I was trying to get a rental car and I couldn't find a rental car place. And I saw this beautiful Buddha and I fell in love with her. And I said, I have to have her. And I bought her and she's back here. And she's like the centerpiece of my bookshelf with candles and stuff like that. So I have a collection of stuff. I'm looking at some art from Cuba. I have a collection of things, man. If I connect with it, I'm gonna get it. Because in my mind, I'm not gonna be here anytime soon, and so this is part of curating the experience, right?
Yeah,
and I'm just not gonna leave it there. So anywhere from a Buddha to cloth to art to alcohol to anklets to the low key stuff would be the refrigerator magnets, even jewelry too, if necessary. But yeah, I guess maybe I'm spending too much money. Maybe that's what's going on.
No, I think you're just leveling up the stuff that's important. You're one of the few people, and I haven't asked the question a lot, but not too many people have struck me as, hey, this person, is into the curation of what they bring back. We had one guest, Ken. He's a fashion designer, so he's out there getting fabrics and stuff, and that's related to his trade and his passion, But yeah, you struck me as someone who's, especially being out in the nature, man. There's stuff you see that some people will never ever see. Like you gotta flex out in DC once you get back. Be like, yo, where'd you get these salts from, my guy? This chicken's kicking.
Right. Yeah, I'm gonna get that anyway because I put it down a little bit, but I also but I also think that some of those experiences are for me too, right?
Right.
Everything isn't meant to be shared, and I know that we live in an era where sometimes there may be oversharing. But I'm perfectly comfortable with saying, this is my moment. This is for me. And I'm not going to capture it in any way, that, requires digital media to capture it. I'm going to capture it in my mind. I just want to be present in the moment with this. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because I have the experience, yeah, I'm okay with that. And guess what?
What?
There's always more trips. There's always more trips, so.
Bro, that's it. That is it right there. There are all, man, that should be the name of this episode. There are always more trips.
Right. And so with more trips come more experiences, so, yeah, so I don't feel pressured, to sort of kind of put everything out there. Some things are, for me and just for me. And oftentimes the night is not captured, it's just like I have a memory, I just remember in the jungle in Costa Rica way back. And I talk about Costa Rica a lot. Costa Rica is very near and dear to me. I'm very fond of Costa Rica. I've been there a million times, so I just remember hiking in a jungle and we hiked up this huge mountain in the jungle. It was hot. It was sweaty. The humidity was thick. And I just thought I was going to die because I had never had a hiking experience that was this intense.
Right.
And so finally we hiked to the top of the mountain. But once you get to the top of the mountain, there was a crater lake, a sulfur lake. And we basically swam in it, and I was a little nervous about it, because there was like frogs nibbling at your toes or what have you. But I don't have any of that, on video. but I have the memory, of, hiking through the jungle, being exhausted, leaves smacking you across the face, me being terrified that, some sort of snake or animal was going to jump on me,
Right.
me being literally exhausted, but me not giving up, because this was a journey that I chose, and none of that is captured, but it's vivid in my mind, today. And I never will forget that experience. It was one of my most intense hiking experiences. And even swimming in the Sulphur Lake, refreshing, just sort of kind of jumping. And I didn't even know we were going to swim, actually.
I love it though, man. I like the variety experience and the openness that you travel through the world with. I'm sure that resonates with the people you come in contact with as well. And definitely with the listeners of this show. So as we wrap out, bro, as always, I want to hear what trips you got coming up. You mentioned a couple things coming in December, but maybe there's way more. And if you had any ventures or projects you're working on that you wanted to share with the people.
Next month, which is I'll be in Dubai, with stopovers in London and Amsterdam. I have
Wait a second. Back up. Because where's the water in Dubai?
There's no water in Dubai. Well, I think there is water in Dubai. This is there's an annual trip I take, with two of my cousins. We usually have a trip every year. So this is with them. So it's two cousins, and she picked Dubai. And so that's where we're going to go. So this,
Okay.
so I'm like, whatever, sure, I'll go, so yeah.
Okay.
So there's a stopover in Amsterdam. There's stopovers. So I'll be in Amsterdam for a night or a day or what have you, and I'll be in London. So going out, get off the plane, I hang out in Amsterdam, and I'll fly out the next day. And coming back, I'll hang out in London, for a day and come back, and the rest of the time will be spent in Dubai. Even still, I've been flirting with the idea about like, hey, maybe I should like fly to Jordan or something, just for a day, just to hang out, grab some lunch, So that's coming up in November. December, I'm flirting with. I tell people I'm still looking for a December trip. I'm flirting with Ghana and Nigeria. They're close. You can do both at the same time. So I'm flirting with that. I'm looking at maybe Morocco, hanging out in Madrid, for a couple of days, and then going over to Morocco, hanging out there. I don't know. I'm trying to decide, man. It's still kind of early for me to make a commitment, and so even with that, I will leave out maybe on a Christmas day or the day after Christmas and come back sometime, after the new year. Part of me is telling me I need to sit my butt down, because there's stuff to do here. But it's a travel bug, man. So I feel like, hey, you just explore and see if I can make it work, So yeah.
Right. Travel bug indeed. That's that's how it got you when you just grabbing flights, for no reason. But that's dope, man. Dubai and then possibly hitting up Nigeria and Ghana. That's what's up, man. Always having more trips is crucial, man. Like, thank you for sharing that, because I think that changes how you engage when you have that abundance mindset of, I will do this again.
Right.
I used to be a tour guide in Paris, and people wanted to do everything in 3 days. And I was just like, chill. It's not going to happen. Even if you got done a quarter of the stuff that you want to get done, that's all you'll have time for. You'll be dead tired. You won't remember any of it. Just come back. And people looked at me like I was crazy. I was like, just check it out. Do a couple things. And if you like it, just come back. If it means that much to you, that's the way to look at it.
You can always go back. And I think, and I think that's the difference between when I was playing to my friend. It's just not a trip being a hobby. If it's a hobby, I can do it over and over again. I can do it as many times as I want. If it's just a trip, you take your one little trip and like, I'm never coming back to Paris again. This is the only time. Like, no. Like, come back. You can go back. Go back.
Right. All right. They'll be happy to take your monies. It's fine.
Yeah, for sure. I'll take it. I'll take it.
I love it, bro. Well, dude, thank you so much for making the time, carving out some time out of your day with us here at Point Noir, bro. Thank you so much for sharing your energy and your tips. I'm definitely going to check out yogatrade.com, because who knows what I'll be doing in 9 months with my life. But yeah, man, it was a great time.
This was fun. I really appreciate it. We finally got this done. And I'm looking forward to future collaboration. I'm looking for that Point Noir trip, man. I'm looking for that trip, bro. Get the brothers together.
Hey, man. Oh man, speak it into existence, bro, because nobody knows about it yet, but now they do.
Oh,
Yeah, no, it's fine.
okay, all right.
But yeah, it would be great to get some of the alumni from the show and other brothers who are interested in travel, because we were talking that like not a lot of bros really be traveling.
Right.
Like our women got it on lock. They
Yeah.
talk, they have podcasts, they have shows, they share content, they talk.
They're doing
But it's not a lot of bros out there. So how dope would it be to get like-minded dudes just to kick it for a weekend? How often does that happen?
right. And shout out to the sisters for getting it done, not waiting for their man or their husband or their whatever. Shout out to them because they're like, listen, we're going to take these trips. Y'all ain't doing nothing. Y'all ain't going nowhere. And we're going to get my girls together and we're going to go. So shout out to them for not sitting around waiting for a dude to go on a trip. I appreciate that. we got to catch up. We got to catch up. Come on. Let's make this thing happen, man.
Well, until then, shout out to math and ratios, because when they go on these trips, we're usually the people they meet out there. So,
yeah, you're right.
It's a numbers game right now.
Yeah.
We're over-indexing. It's good.
Yes, indeed. Indeed it
is. Well, bro, on that note, we're going to sign off and hop off this, man. Thank you so much. Thanks again for joining us, Kenyon.
I appreciate the love, man. You take care.
Yeah, man. We'll be in touch soon. Peace. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Another awesome and unique adventure perspective in the books. Thank you so much, Kenyon, for spending time with us. And I hope you enjoyed the session as much as I enjoyed recording it. Best of luck, definitely, with becoming an expat. You'll have to keep us in the loop on where you end up. But with your attitude and positivity, I'm sure it'll definitely happen. Hope you guys could pick up some awesome tips from that about how he likes to incorporate adventure and the outdoors with all of his travels, because I think it's something definitely worth pursuing, especially when you're in these beautiful locations. It's just another way to get more out of your trips abroad or even in the nation if you're traveling domestically. So with that all being said, if you guys dug today's episode, make sure you spend some time to go on iTunes, leave us a 5-star rating and review. We'd super duper duper appreciate it. And looking forward to seeing you guys next week for our next awesome adventure story and special guest of the week. That all being said, I'm Jerry the Third, signing off.